The Book of Esther is an anomalous one within the biblical corpus for many reasons, a few of which being the fact that it is the only book in the New or Old Testament to never mention God, and also for giving an eminent role to a female character, Esther. Many things can be said about this text in attempting to justify its seemingly misplaced nature in relation to the rest of the Bible or Tanakh, but it is often treated as a proto-feminist manifesto. I will argue here that this represents a misplaced hope, but that this book can nevertheless serve to explicate some of the key concerns of feminism. In feminist studies today, an important question is reform or revolution. That is to say, should one work within the system and approach a goal slowly, or do so with haste and in a rapid, oftentimes provocative manner? In Esther, we're presented with two contrasting stories of female characters having their needs met, with two different levels of success. First is Queen Vashti. Together with King Xerxes, Queen Vashti is a member of the royalty which rules over the Achaemenid Empire. King Xerxes, in an effort to display his vast wealth and success, hosts a 7-day mass banquet in which those from across the land are invited. In an effort to show off his queen, Xerxes commands Vashti to come into the court so that all may look at her beauty. Queen Vashti, however, denies Xerxes' request for unknown reasons. In response, Vashti is deposed and banished from ever appearing in Xerxes' presence, a clear failure. As a response to this, the king sends out a command saying, "Let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king." This is done in an effort to add virgins to his harem, as well as find a woman who may replace Queen Vashti. Enter Esther, a Jew who finds favor with the king via quite strange circumstances. He finds her particularly attractive, and it is said that she pleased him. If we look at the literal translation for this, we get a very ambiguous phrase, which is, "she is being good." As a result of this, however, she rises to the level of queen. As one of King Xerxes' officials, Haman, attempts to have all the Jews killed, Esther stealthily plans a path for her people's liberation. She plans fine feasts and keeps Xerxes in constant suspense, similar to the story of Scheherazade, who, by telling good stories, keeps a murderous king from killing her in the night. And Esther finds a way to get the king to spare her people and kill Haman. The Book of Esther clearly wants to advocate for slow change, which functions within a hierarchy and which is slow and never provocative. Esther always prefaces every request with laments of submission, such as when she says, "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life." But the question can be raised throughout this whole story. Can this always work, this slow, hierarchical change of the order of things? What if a political or social situation is such that there aren't effective avenues by which to rise up and effectuate gradual change? In this case, revolution is often advocated as an essential element in situations where staying within the order of things would be equivalent to complacency and submission without substantive change. The question in the Book of Esther is, does Esther express her autonomy as a proto-feminist model, or merely accentuate her submission? Many assume that because her people were freed, Esther is automatically a woman powerhouse, indicative of the highest ideals of a woman and a liberator. But when we zoom in, we find her behavior rather problematic when approaching modern feminism, among other disciplines, and asking reform or revolution. As mentioned earlier, Esther gains her favor explicitly because she is a virgin and is sought out among other women for inclusion both in Xerxes' harem and for the possible role of replacing Queen Vashti. The phrase "she pleased him," when discussing the way in which Esther gained her prominence, seems as though it could implicate a sexual act being performed, Or, at the very least, that she is valued only for her ability to slip into a definite channel as defined by the king, and men more broadly. For example, when discussing why it is that Queen Vashti must be punished in a way, it is said, "This very day the Persian and Median women of the nobility who have heard about the queen's conduct will respond to all the king's nobles in the same way. There will be no end of disrespect and discord." And later, when an official decree is sent out, it is specified that all the women will respect their husbands from the least to the greatest. Thus, it clearly specifies that women have a specific role in a hierarchy and that their autonomy is at the very least only limited to their subservient role. When we look at the way in which Esther is able to muster the ability to make change, we should look at the way in which she does it to see if she's really actually expressing autonomy, or if this is merely being presented as a reactionary and conservative way of effectuating change. As mentioned previously, at the climax of the story, as she builds up Xerxes' suspense and eventually asks for her people to be spared, the story goes as follows. "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king." When considering this key part of the story and analyzing the way in which Queen Esther makes her needs known, it should be noted that it is through a conditional statement. If I have found favor with you, if it pleases you. In a conditional statement, the power lies in the truth value of the condition, Xerxes' approval, rather than the outcome, saving the Jews, with Esther merely being a vessel to show Xerxes everything he has the power to do. Considering that Xerxes is a foreigner and not even of Esther's people, it's rather alarming that she only finds the Jews' condition worthy of amelioration because they're going to be killed. Whereas if they were to be sold as mere male and female slaves, it wouldn't be worth Xerxes' attention. Here, Esther proves perfectly willing to fall into submission and demonstrate not her autonomy, but rather her submission, which is exactly the type of tale of political change that would be brought forth by men who clearly would rather women feel that they have power, rather than actually allow them even the mere possibility of having autonomy of their own. Thus, we can see some of the important themes in feminist studies regarding the pace of change, and we can see the way in which the Bible approaches this. I hope this gives you some ways to see this discourse with more clarity and to maybe have some valid criticisms about this particular book. Leave any constructive or non-constructive criticisms in the comments, watch some of my other lectures, and I'll see you in another video.